Hello, grammar and spelling students. This is your video for week 12. So what I need you to do, if you haven't already done it, is get your Fix-It book and open up to week number 12 and grab yourself a pencil because we're going to be going through our new concept for the week, and then I'm also going to go over day 1. And then if we have time, I'm hoping that we'll also go over a couple of things from day 2 and also day 4, because there are a couple of tricky concepts that I want to go over with you. If we don't have time in this video, we will definitely go over them when we get back to class, but I'm hoping to get through them because I don't want to wait until we get back to class in January to go over this. I want you to have the tools you need to do your sentence as well. So our new concept this week is the illegal number 4 ing opener. So here, I'm going to share my video here with me. Whoops. So it says this, illegal ing. So we talked about the ing word opener. Sometimes there are illegal ing openers, and we're going to talk about what those are. So you have to be careful when you see those ing words at the beginning. So here's an example. Gushing with tears, and I spelled that incorrectly, sorry, it should be tears. Gushing with tears, the king listened to Dorinda's pathetic story. Okay, so we want to look at the word gushing and figure out what is gushing in this sentence, okay, because the subject has to agree with this verb here, with gushing. Okay, so gushing with tears. Is the king gushing with tears? Or is Dorinda gushing with tears? In this case, we know it's Dorinda. Dorinda is gushing with tears. Well, Dorinda is not the subject that immediately follows the ing word. The king does. So in this case, this is an illegal ing word, okay? If Dorinda was here, if it said gushing with tears, Dorinda told her pathetic story to the king, then this would be okay. So let me give you another example here. Let's look at this one. Sobbing as if her heart would break. Dorinda's eye slowly opened to check the effect of her tears. Okay, so get a picture of what's going on in the sentence. She's crying. She's pretending to cry like her heart is going to break, and she slyly opens up one of her eyes to look around to see if anyone notices that she's having a fit. Okay, so what's the subject right after the ing? Sobbing as if her heart would break. Dorinda's eye. Okay. So in this case, is it her eye her eye is sobbing, but she's the one who's doing the sobbing. So again, in this case, the eye is the subject that immediately follows the ing, so this would not work either. Here is how we could fix it, okay? Sobbing as if her heart would break, Dorinda slyly opened one eye to check the effect of her tears, okay? In this case, Dorinda is the subject that immediately follows the ing, so this one would work, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to be looking for those in our sentences this week. Okay, day 1 does not have an ing opener, but on day 2 you have one. Actually, only on day 2. So we're going to try to take a look at that before we finish this morning. So let's go ahead and look at our sentence for day 1. Okay, so this is what your sentence should look like here in your book. We have our vocab word underlined. Yours is bolded, audibly. So after we read the sentence, we'll try to figure out what audibly means, okay? So our sentence says, reluctantly, Princess Dorinda slank to the door and opened it a crack, just wide enough for the frog to squeeze through. I guess you can come in, she sighed audibly. Okay, so we have picked up, we're picking up where we left off. Our sentence prior to this was, the king too was used to her The king was too used to her histrionics to be affected by tears. Daughter, you are a royal princess. Your word of all peoples must be trustworthy. So he's not taking her tears too seriously, and he's telling her, you need to be trustworthy. So we've had some dialogue, and we're changing subjects. So we're going to indent. So put your little indentation symbol there. I can't put symbols on here while I'm showing you my screen, but I will show you a corrected sentence when we get through. So just know you need to put your indentation symbol here, okay? Obviously, we're going to capitalize the R in reluctantly. because that's the beginning of our sentence. Okay. So reluctantly, Princess Dorinda. Princess and Dorinda both need capitalization because that's her name. Okay. Slank to the door. Okay. So when we hear the word slank, that should give us a clue as how she's moving to the door. However, this is not the correct word usage. Okay. Slink is the present tense of the word that we're using here. But she did it in the past. Reluctantly, Princess Dorinda slunk would be the correct verb usage. Slunk to the door, because slunk is the past tense of the verb slink. Okay, so this word should be changed to slunk. Change the A to a U. So again, reluctantly, Princess Dorinda slunk to the door and opened it a crack. Okay, so let's stop there for a second and look and see what we think is going on. Okay, so I want you to notice here, she did two things. She slunk to the door and opened it a crack. Notice there's a comma here, kind of like as if it were a series of things that she's doing, and it is. But remember, there's only two things in this series. She slunk to the door and opened it a crack. You have the word and here, which is joining the two verbs. Slunk to the door, opened it a crack. So remember, when there are two, we don't need the comma here before the and. So you're going to get rid of this comma. So get rid of that comma, okay? So reluctantly, Princess Dorinda slunk to the door, no comma, and opened it a crack. Okay. Now, here we would need a comma. So you're going to add a comma after crack. Just wide enough for the frog to squeeze through. Okay. Excuse me. I have a frog in my throat this morning. Just wide enough does not need a comma after it. So this is another comma we're going to get rid of. Because this for the frog to squeeze through is a prepositional phrase. And we do not need a comma separating this just wide enough and for the frog to squeeze through. So you can get rid of this comma, okay? All right, and then we end our sentence here, okay? So let's see if we can identify the subjects and verbs and our clauses. We obviously, I just identified one of our prepositional phrases for the frog, okay? We have another one, in case you didn't notice, it's up here, to the door. To is our preposition. Door is the noun, to the door, okay? So let's go back up here. Reluctantly, Princess Dorinda slunk to the door, okay? So Princess Dorinda would be our subject, so Princess Dorinda. And what did she do? She slunk. Slunk would be the verb. She also, though, remember, opened it a crack. So slunk and opened would be our verbs, okay? So that would be, let's see, so we've got our subject here and our two verbs. Reluctantly, Princess Dorinda slunk to the door and opened it a crack, okay? So we've got our subjects and verbs. That could be a clause. Let's decide, can that stand alone? Princess Dorinda slunk to the door and opened it a crack. Yeah, we've got a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. So from Princess Dorinda to crack would be considered a main clause, okay? Now the rest of this is just non-essential. We've got reluctantly, that's not essential. It's just an adverb telling us how she slunk to the door and opened it a crack. We've got just wide enough, again, non-essential. We don't need that. It's some good information and it helps make the sentence more interesting, but we don't need it. It's called non-essential. For the frog is a prepositional phrase, again, non-essential. And to squeeze through, again, non-essential. So these are not necessarily, they're not clauses because they don't have subjects and verbs. So we just have one clause in this sentence, okay? So let's go on to the next sentence. I guess you can come in, she sighed audibly. Okay, she sighed audibly should give you a clue that something's going on here. This is dialogue. This is something she said. So we're going to add some quotation marks here. And before we do that, though, we're going to signal, oh, dialogue, I need to indent. So you're going to indent here with, I guess you can come in, she sighed audibly. So quotation, or indentation, quotation marks, obviously capitalize, I guess, okay? I guess you can come in. This is the part that she's saying, okay? So we're going to put a comma and more quotation marks here after in. She sighed audibly, okay? And period. Audibly. What does audibly mean? That's our vocab word. So let me give you a clue. I guess you can come in. She sighed audibly. She sighed audibly means she sighed it loud enough that the frog could hear her. So audibly means loud enough to be heard, okay? Let's see. So let's figure out our subjects and verbs, okay? So let's go back here. I guess. I could be a subject and guess. I guess, okay? So this is a subject and a verb. We also have some more, though. You can come in. That would also be subject, and can come in would be the verb, okay? Or got some helping verbs there too. So we've got two sets of subjects and verbs. So let's decide, do we think, and we've got actually one more, I'm sorry, down here. She sighed. She would be the subject, sighed would be the verb. So we've got three sets, of subjects and verbs. So let's go back to I guess, okay? I guess, because it's dialogue and we know what she's talking about, this would be considered a main clause, okay? So I guess is a main clause. You can come in. This is actually supplemental to the I guess. So this is going to be a dependent clause because it helps us understand the, or to give some more context to the I guess. So the I guess is a main clause. You can come in is a dependent clause. And then she sighed audibly. That could stand alone. So that would be a main clause, okay? All right, so I think we got all the elements that we needed in our sentences here. Let me see, anything else I wanted to share with you real quick before we go on? And I show you what the sentence should look like. So here's what your rewrite sentence should look like. You've got your capital letters in place, commas in the right place, punctuation, quotation marks. So this is what your rewrite should look like. So let me go on here. We're going to add a dress up. Okay, so the dress up I chose was to add an interest or a quality adjective to the frog, the anxious frog. Okay, reluctantly, Princess Dorinda slunk to the door and opened it a crack, just wide enough for the anxious frog to squeeze through. I guess you can come in, she sighed audibly. Okay, so that's the dress up I chose. Obviously, you can choose one of your own, or you can use mine for this particular sentence. But remember, you're going to add a dress up to each day's work. Okay, so you should have a total, again, of 4 dress ups in your rewrite, and I will be looking for those. If you want to, you can underline them or highlight them or somehow mark them so that I make sure and see them. And that way you make sure you get credit for them. So I want you to turn the page real quick, though, to day number 2. I just want to point something out to you, okay? So this one has that ing opener that we were talking about. Hopping, she let him traipse behind her to the resplendent dining hall. Okay, we're just going to stop there. I'm not going to read the rest of the sentence because I just want to go over this really quickly. Okay, so let's figure out what's the subject after hopping. Okay, who's hopping? Is Dorinda hopping or the frog hopping? This makes us think, because it says she is hopping, it makes us think that Dorinda's hopping, but really it's not. It's the frog. So to make this more clear, I want you to cross out she let him in, or let him traipse. And we're going to just change that to he traipsed. So hopping, he traipsed behind her to the resplendent dining hall, okay? I want you to make that, I just wanted to point that out to you so that it makes more sense. And so that hopping ing opener is not illegal. It's legal that way, okay? And it makes more sense. It makes our sentence more concise. So that was when I wanted to point it out to you on day 2. Day 4 has another, it's not going to affect the way you rewrite your sentence, but we are going to talk about it when we get back, because they actually combined some clauses, and it's something that we haven't talked about before. So we'll talk about that when we get back to class. So I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you in January. Take care.